Welcome to Questions and Answers Q&A with Nolan and John with Red River Leadership.
Yeah, we've got a couple questions here that have come in, and these have come in through our training and consulting meetings with different churches. And so one of them here that we're going to jump right into is, we just received a donation from someone and we want to use it for live streaming and church online. What do you recommend?
Ooh, buddy.
You're going to say, Nolan, 15 seconds, go.
That is a great question.
So this is a really good question, and it really depends on a couple different things. So two questions I'll ask you first. Not you, Nolan, but you know, somebody who's in this situation. What's your budget? How many dollars do you have set aside for this, and can you increase that number? So, I mean, unless that number is in a great place already. But just, this is an investment. This is a big investment to get church online in a great way, in a better way, in a cleaner way, to spread the message of Jesus. Like, we are tasked with an amazing thing, being in the age of technology. How do we get this message out better and to more people? We have the ability to change lives with this. So it's really getting serious about that with your church, with your council, having those conversations, digging in on your why and your mission of your church. So again, finding what your budget is. And number two is, what are your production goals? What do you want your online experience to look and feel like, sound like? It's probably going to different websites, different churches' social media pages, and finding examples of what you're hoping to create, how you want to create it. Every church is in a different situation. Every church has different histories, different why they've done things along the way, why they haven't done certain things along the way. So it's addressing some of those things. What are the realistic capabilities? And that's something Nolan and I can help you with too, is just walking through some of those options that might be questions for you right now. Like, is this even possible? Did you want to add anything to that, Nolan, before we dig into this?
Yeah, it's not a one-size-shoe-fits-all.
Right.
And there needs to be some contemplation, some back and forth, some build it specifically for what your needs are. And I just think it's crazy. I'm bewildered by how much you can do online right now. You're watching this, I'm sure you are too. But really the reality, really the reality of the opportunities we have online is we're just in the baby steps.
Yeah.
And there's certainly some resistance. You know, you think back to, I certainly wasn't around, but when cars were first introduced, there was some pushback with that. But look how far we've come now. You can buy a car that drives itself. It's taken a century, right? But now you can buy a Tesla and take a nap while you drive from the East Coast to the West Coast. And right now we're still in the just beyond the horse and buggy stage in that car analogy. We've just got so far to go. We can't even think, we can't even imagine how far this internet thing, this online worship thing is going to go. And so now is to put all the chips in so that you are in a good position. So how do you do that well? And I think that's where we're at today with our questions and answers, and why so many people are asking about that.
Right. No, this is good. It's a very common question we get, and we just had a great conversation with the pastor this last week about this. And so we decided to create a PDF, kind of a little graphic here that we're going to walk through, and it's got 3 different recommendations we have. And again, it's based on what your budget is, what your church is willing to spend and willing to invest into this. And number 2, resulting in different production values. So you're going to have to make those decisions along the way, how much you're willing to spend and how much you're willing to put into a higher value. So I'm going to go ahead.
Quick. When you say different production value, we aren't ever going to suggest something that's not good. Like it's good, gooder, and goodest.
Yep.
You know, it's really There's not anything that we're going to say this is crappy, but it's cheap. No, this is a great option, and it only gets better from there. How far do you want to go into this thing?
Right. So I'm going to share my screen here. This is our PDF we've got. So the very first one we recommend to churches, and this is something I've used, Nolan's used it. This was one of our first steps at Good Shepherd, where I'm at. It's called Switcher Studio. So it's the cheapest, it's flexible, it's mobile friendly, it's lower quality, and it's user friendly. So just to speak to a couple of those things quick. So when I say lower quality, you are limited in what you have for visual options there. So how it works is that you have a center iPad here right in the middle, and then you can connect as many iOS devices to it. So this is an Apple platform. You can connect as many devices as you want to it. I would recommend at least 2, maybe 3. We've done up to 5 and 6, just having fun with it, trying to see what things we can do. So when I say lower quality, is that you are limited to the ability of that iOS device you're using, that Apple device. So we've used iPad minis, we've used iPods, we've used iPhones, and you can't zoom in very far. If you have one of those phones, or if you have a smartphone at all, as soon as you start zooming in a ways, it starts getting pixelated and you lose the quality. So that's a lot of the lower quality that you're going to experience with that. What's nice though is you get direct audio off your soundboard. So we're gonna show you how to get from your board directly into this iPad, so you get that clean audio. That's been an issue for a lot of churches. Hey, we're using this iPad, but our sound is so echoey. Well, are you coming directly off your board? No, we're not. Here's how you do that. So this is one of the recommendations there. So you get quality audio, but you're going to lose quality on your overall video using this platform. If you're doing like a devotional in your office, or if you're shooting an interview, anything short throw, meaning you don't have to shoot very far away from your balcony or anything like that, if you're up close, this is a pretty great option. And we actually used this for a while after we moved away from Switcher. We still use it from time to time, depending on what the project is, because it allows you to use different cameras and direct audio, and kind of accomplish a few of those things. Nolan, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and this is one of those things that brand new tech team haven't worked with. When I brought it to Calvary, where I'm at, they had not done any live streaming, and I basically handed them the iPad and showed them how to do it, and they were running with it pretty much instantly and showing me how to do things. Very user friendly, like John said. The other thing is, this is something that if you want to do worship in the park, or worship at the lake, or on a mountain, or whatever it is, you could just take those iPads because they're small, and you can set them up and do it anywhere. And that's what he means by mobile.
Right.
Yeah, we've loved it. It's great. Shout out to Switcher Studio. Great job.
Yep. Let us know if you have any questions on that one. So that's kind of the first one. Dollar amount, we can throw out a couple ballparks here for that. So, I mean, these are all kind of based on, again, budget and production value. So budget on something like this, we're assuming you have a decent sound board that you can control a specific output for your live stream that's going to come into your iPad system. So hopefully your purchase, if you don't have a solid audio solution at this point, that's going to be your first investment that I'm always going to encourage you. If you have already invested in that and you have a well-functioning soundboard that has options, then we're going to move on to this, and you're going to purchase one, switch your iPad, and maybe 2 or 3 different camera angles, which would be 2 or 3 other iPads. So your investment there is going to be, what iPads even run now? $200-$300?
Yeah, they're reasonable.
So, I mean, you're looking at between, 3, 6, 9, I mean, somewhere around $1,000, $1,200 to get 3 of those iPads in place. It might be an adapter, an interface getting out of your board into your iPad. So you're looking right around 1,000, a little bit more than 1,000 for this solution here. We just had a quick question come in on this one. How do you recommend? Thanks, Tim. How you doing, buddy? How do you recommend pushing audio? Matrix out, mixed bus out? What I've found the most successful is a mixed bus out. And you can go obviously two different ways. Tim, if you're on this call, you could probably even explain that better than I could. But I would definitely recommend, what I use is a mixed bus. So we have a dedicated out that somebody has headphones on. They're listening to that out. They're listening to that bus out. They are making sure that that sound is going to sound as great as it can on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you're streaming to. They can step outside the room, listen to the actual stream, make sure it sounds good, and come back in. That way you're mixing that one bus out, that separate output out, and you're not messing with the room at all. They are two separate purposes, your room audio and your live stream audio. So I'd say mixed bus. Good question.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the next one, A10 Mini Pro with 3 HD cameras in the solution. So this will kind of be your next step that we'd recommend. This one, so this was kind of a game changer when Blackmagic came out with the A10 Mini Pro, which is this center device here. It kind of blew me out of the water what all it can do. So I definitely recommend this as kind of your next level option. Your highest expenses in this solution are going to be your 3 cameras here, and your A10 Mini. Now, something like this used to be, geez, $3-4 grand for just this. This thing came out and completely changed the market at a $700 price tag, which was wild. Just all the things it's able to do. It's able to take in HDMI from 4 different sources. So in this model, we have 3 cameras, and these are Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras, which work very well with this switcher. So you're running HDMI from each camera in. You're able to preview all 3 of those cameras and pick which ones you want to go live. You're able to run your MacBook or any computer for that matter, just has to have HDMI out to get into your A10 Mini. So you can create then at the end of the day down here a live mix. And this was just a example layout to Facebook Live, YouTube with your lyrics on the screen, and whatever configuration of these 3 cameras you want to use. And again, this includes your direct audio coming off your board, and making sure that that's clean. Yeah, I really like this solution. We just picked up one of these, the A10 Mini Pro. We do things at our second site downtown Fargo that we needed kind of a mobile friendly, high quality solution for. So that's where we jumped in with the A10 Mini, and it does an incredible job. So churches that are looking to spend, $1,000-2,000 per camera to get that high quality HD solution. So you're looking at, on the high end there, $246 on 3 cameras, $6,000 plus your A10 Mini at $700, $6,000-7,000. So I mean, this solution is going to be right in that kind of $5,000 to $10,000-12,000 region, $5,000 to $10,000, and that's assuming you've got a Pro Presenter solution here already in play, and again, your digital soundboard already in play. So you're hopefully adding to what you already have in your workflow already, and then you're just adding these components into that. Any questions on that one, or any other thoughts on that one, Nolan?
Nope, just looking at Tim's comment.
Oh yeah. That is true. So one thing to note on the 1/8 inch input on the A10 Mini. So this guy getting from your board into here, it only takes an 1/8 inch input. So you'll need to go from XLR and convert it over to 1/8 inch to get direct audio into the A10 Mini. That's a great comment.
Yeah, that's something I haven't used or had any need for at this point, but anything with Blackmagic just been super slick.
Right.
Really
they used to not have anything in that price point, so that changed the game big time when it came out. And like I said, we just bought one, and I'd actually rented one to try it before we bought it, and it worked perfect. Like, we had 0 issues with it, and like you said, Blackmagic is just a great brand in video production. So moving along, so this is number 3. So this would be a much bigger investment and longer term, maximum flexibility. It gives you, it's really future proof, and I'll explain what that means here. So this setup is going to be in that $15 to $20 to $25,000. Oh, hold on here. We had one other question. How do you recommend getting from the soundboard to the 1/8" input? So you're going to come off XLR. So we talked about that mix bus coming out in XLR. So say it's this board here. So sorry, let's rewind just for a second. If you're on this board here, we're going to be using an XLR output, taking a direct out, controlling it in a mix bus, and we're going to run it into, oh, what do we do for that? You're going to need to find a way to go from XLR to 1/8", and I think they just make that little Rapco box converter, and I'm trying to remember right now if that goes both directions, if it goes mic line in as well. We'd have to play with that a little bit. Tim, do you know that? Brian, do you know that? It would take a little adapter, is what it would take.
Really?
But good questions. Those are all things that, I mean, you know, you're going to be down this path and then go, wait a second, why isn't our audio working? Wait a second, why isn't this happening? And figuring those things out. So again, on this one, we're going to be having, this is our most expensive, but you now have HD and 4K quality, very future proof because you can add cameras in anytime you want. You can add in other sources, videos, other computers, maximum flexibility. So you can, any kind of graphics you want on your screen. So we'll dig into that as we go. And then there's going to be more training needed. And as we've kind of scrolled down through the 3 different options, you see there's just more stuff. So at the end of the day, there's more jumps, there's more things to keep in mind as you're putting these together. Something doesn't work right, there's more things to troubleshoot, more areas where things could fail. But to start off here, so you're looking at a couple different cameras, camera types. This is what we went with at Good Shepherd, so I just want to use that as an example. You could do 4 of these, you could do 4 of these, you could do 2 of these, 1 of these, 3 of these, 4. So these are all interchangeable, and that's what I mean by maximum flexibility and future proofing this thing. So you can down the road add in any kind of a camera you want. But these are Canon XA55s that we love. They're very highly rated for kind of a run and gun solution. And what that means is if you're doing an interview that week, or if you have people from your church coming in and you want to capture a story, or, you know, you really want to get stories out about how God is working in your church, these can be pulled out of your live stream, like Sanctuary, setup very easily. You can pull them out, move it to another room, shoot an interview, move it down to here, capture the kids singing this song, move it down here and do whatever. So that's what I love about these. And what's really nice about them is they have this XLR input directly in the top. So you can now connect a camera right to that and get a direct audio feed in, which is just awesome. We love being able to do that. I use these cameras for all of our interviews, all of our announcement videos, anything like that. So it's kind of, you're purchasing it not just for your live stream, but for multiple uses. These PTZs we bought, they're mounted in the Sanctuary in a couple different locations. Actually, one of them's mounted in the center. One of them is still on a tripod because I haven't decided where I want to mount it yet. And we just found while we were pre-recording things, while we were in this COVID phase, that we liked having the flexibility of knowing that we could move that camera around whenever we wanted to. So these are PTZs, and I'll explain what that means here. They're pan, tilt, zoom cameras. So this PTZ controller down here is what we use to control how they're panned, tilted, or zoomed. You can have somebody that's in charge of, okay, we know that this guitarist is going to open this song, so we want to be zoomed in on his guitar. Like, they can be ready for that. We know that this pastor likes to, you know, preach and move around a lot, so we're gonna have to follow him a little bit. It gives you that flexibility to be able to follow, set up shots accordingly. If you have a special music coming up, setting up your shot over there for that, and so on. The downfall of these over here is that you'd have to have somebody manning those, or they can stand alone. So, I mean, you could have one kind of right in on your center that you just know that there's always going to be some action there and you don't have to move it very much. Or you can have somebody sitting on it, moving the camera along with the action.
Ideally, you'd have somebody on them.
Yeah, ideally you do. And we know how easy it is to find volunteers. So, I mean, you could get probably 3 people on that camera if you want. I'm just kidding. That's the hardest part, is like finding people it's like, hey, I can't even get somebody to run sound this weekend. How am I gonna get somebody to run a camera? But that becomes part of this investment, is going, okay, we're investing in gear, we're investing in our people and training. And there's a big step that you have to make to be able to improve your quality to this level. So these would have to run through Power 3 Ethernet switch. I won't dig too much in it. What's that?
On the PTZs, you can move them to different places pretty easily. It takes a little work, but we've got several different ports for them to connect to. So it's not super flexible, but it's not unchangeable.
Yeah.
Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. And you want to put in an Ethernet switch that has, again, we call this future proof. So you want to make sure that your switch that you put in has plenty of channels or plenty of ports for room for growth down the road. We've talked about, do we put one in like at the front of the church that shows the congregation? Like, again, you want to be purchasing things, if you're going to spend this kind of money, that you can add in to enhance that experience down the road as the vision for Worship Online grows. So you're running it all through a switch, and you're running into, so we've talked about audio here, how you want to get it in. I did include this interface with this example here. You're going to come off that XLR output again. You're going to run into this interface here where your XLR goes in here, and then it'll come off USB, which is just a nice high quality audio source into your computer. And then again, MacBook down here coming into this computer, which also feeds your Sanctuary screens, but that'll come into your computer. So when it came to the computer, this was a big piece of this. Think of it as just kind of the central brains of this entire operation. You need to have something that's very high quality and high performing. We did a lot of research on this, and we found Stream Dudes was the name. A friend of mine recommended it, and I was like, what? What? Like, seriously, Stream Dudes? But they are killer, and they had really, really good reviews, and I read up on them, talked to one of their owners. We had some great conversations. He's a big church guy. Was walking me through exactly what needed to happen. So anyways, what Stream Dudes do is they custom build computers specifically for live stream applications. So I mean, this is literally what they do, is build the best computer, the best machine possible for all this stuff to work well. So they custom built a computer for us. So this is one of the biggest chunks of your expenses outside of the cameras is going to be your main computer here. So PC computer with vMix is the program, the software that we recommend at this point, which has the ability to video switch, design the live stream, meaning throwing on titles live, throwing on lower thirds, throwing on all the stuff, record and broadcast live. So, when we were buying this, we were like, oh, we're going to be live in person in no time. Like, we're going to figure out how to live stream this thing. And so we bought this with I would say the highest priority was to be able to live stream. And then shortly after was to record. But we've been recording with it ever since, because that's just what we've been doing. So recording was a big piece eventually, and it has the ability to record each individual camera if you want to. So you could go in later and post mix everything. It has the ability to record just your main output here. It has the ability to record just the audio. It has so many different functions and abilities within vMix that we just highly recommend it. Some customization options are to get this X keys video switching control. You can run everything through the software in vMix if you want to, but I have had pretty good luck. We purchased one of these, and it works pretty well. It gives you a nice, shortcuts when you're in your workflow and in your live stream or your recording session, that you can just hit one or two buttons to make things like happen and switch and fade, instead of kind of click pointing and then transitioning, click pointing. And so just a few less steps to put something like this in. And then we obviously recommend to hardwire everything directly to your router or to wherever your access point is. have everything hardwired so that way your stream doesn't have any issues with Wi-Fi. And then you can send it to, within vMix, you can set it up to send it to Facebook, to YouTube, to Vimeo, to any kind of platform you want to. It has full customization on destination. Yeah, and I know that's a lot to chew on, but this is kind of just a snapshot of it. And obviously there's other adapters and cables and cords and things that aren't included in this diagram, but this kind of gives you a snapshot of that option. Yeah, Nolan?
We just got a question from Tim again.
Yeah, don't read that one. Hence the wink face. Does vMix take VGA? If you're, well, actually I should talk on this. Not the VGA, but why it does or doesn't, I suppose. If your graphics card has a VGA input, then yeah, it totally can. So part of the customizing of this computer, of it being built for this application, is that you can have SDI coming in directly, which I recommend. You can have HDMI coming in. You can have as many USB ports as you want. So kind of talking through, how do you want to do that? Do you want it over NDI? Do you want it over the network? You can customize all that, and that's what Stream Dudes will help you kind of walk through, is which way you recommend. From my experience, and things are changing for NDI and for network solutions. But from my experience so far, SDI has just been really solid. We use SDI for everything we do. Outside, we have CAT to control our PTZs and our CAT, obviously, to run to the internet. But otherwise, we run everything over SDI here. So we have this model of Canon has SDI directly out, so that way we don't have to worry about coming out HDMI and then getting over to SDI for the run into the computer. But this computer here has 8 SDI inputs that were custom built into it. So we can add up to 8 cameras to this system if we want to, and we have 4 in play right now. But we can have up to 8. So again, kind of that future-proof piece of it. And then SDI also runs these PTZs. They're CAT for control and for power, but they're SDI running to off the back into our computer here. But VGA, yeah. If you have a VGA need where you just are like, I just love how this VCR works, I need to get this into my live stream, then you could totally put a VGA port, I think. I don't know.
There you go.
I've never even looked into that, but I would imagine it's possible.
Yeah, and so I haven't talked too much. We just built out a brand new space, and so I'm learning on the go as well. So it's neat because we're set up to do these things. I just don't necessarily have the language to talk about it. Something that I'm really enjoying is with ours, we do the SDI as well, but we've got a 20x20 Blackmagic video hub, and are the SDI inputs decklink. And so we have the ability to take that, whatever we want from the presentation, like welcoming slides and announcement slides, and we can put them up on the screens and we can put them online. And this isn't quite the online option, but just what we're talking about, but just a little bit more on how we use it. We have TVs along the walls outside, so when people come in, they can see very specific things. If they need to leave with their children or their baby to go into the mother's nursing room, there will be a TV in there that we can send the entire worship to. And now we have it planned out if need be. We've got 2 different worship spaces. One is the traditional sanctuary and one's the worship space where we're doing modern services. We've got the sanctuary set up to be a overflow, and so through the SDI we can play the service that we're doing in the separate space over SDI into that sanctuary for people. If there's more than 600 people, who come to worship for that specific one. So it's just, I mean, you can send it anywhere. That 20 by 20, 20 different cameras, computers, to 20 different places, and it's all customizable in there. It's just fascinating.
Right. One question we had are the SDI inputs deck link cards. They're cards that were custom dropped into the computer. So there's like one card of them vertical, and then another. We put the additional card in there for 4 more. So we had 4, and then another 4, and then the computer also has 4 HDMI, and then I don't know, I'd have to look at it now, but it's got a bunch of options, and that was our goal. And it was more expense for that, because you had you had like 4 HDMI was like the ground level, then you had 4 SDI and 4 HDMI was the next level, and then we chose to spend a little bit more to make sure we had 8 total SDI ins, so that way we didn't have to worry about any future issues running anymore. Yeah, and I think, you know, back to kind of Switcher and the A10 Mini solutions, you know, this was great for us for a long time. And I think in a lot of churches I've talked to are having great success with this. Like, it does what they need it to do. It gets the job done. It's clean. You just don't have a lot of options with it. It's user friendly. So again, budget versus production value is what it's going to come down to. I think what I'm seeing more now is churches heading this direction, kind of that middle ground area, where they don't need to spend 20 grand on it, 25 grand on it, but they do need to spend a good 10 grand on it, maybe 12 grand, depending on what computers they have available. But something kind of more in this price point is going to get you a nice high quality stream, something that your church can grow into, that it'll use for years to come. But again, you're limited because there's the 4 inputs. So you have to pick and choose, you know, what you're going to do there. But so I think we'll leave that one at that for now.
Yeah.
We've got another question here. That was a great question, and I know that's a monster answer, but it's a monster question, and it's just the realities that we have to kind of figure out here. So another question we had come in was, okay, we figured out how to record services using your video tips series. So that's awesome. Thanks for watching that. I'm glad you found value. What's the best way to edit them and get them online?
There you go.
That's another good question.
That is another good question. So when the pandemic hit, it was kind of a quick pivot, and we're all kind of grasping at whatever we could find to hold on to. And we moved quick. I think it was Friday that we made the decision that we were closing down, and Saturday was when we needed to put it all together. So it was, I mean, it was quick, right? And I have a Mac. So the first thing that I used was iMovie. It comes free with your iMac, and it worked fine. It's the one thing I had a little bit of experience with. I didn't have a lot, but I could learn quickly, YouTube any questions I had. And in that quick of a switch and having a MacBook, I was able to figure that out pretty quickly. John, I know you're in a similar boat with iMovie.
Yeah, iMovie was great. A couple people on our team use it every week. And I used it every week for a while there. That was all I knew at the time. I dabbled in Premiere Pro, but it was confusing. You have to really dig into it. So I went with iMovie, and we were pre-recording, and, you know, and before the pandemic, I was doing our interviews, announcement videos, things like that, and just doing iMovie. So we'd shoot them on a phone or, you know, an iPad typically. And I would take the content, drop it into iMovie. It's all drag and drop. You can put in some easy transitions. I couldn't, because of iMovie's limitations, do some of the things I wanted to do. You know, you'd be editing something and you're like, oh, I wish I could make it move like that, or, you know, transition here, move that quicker. But you're just limited because it's a free program that comes with your computer. So it's the only downfall, but ultimately, if it's what you've got, it can be fantastic. And we definitely recommend iMovie. My next change, as my editing skills improved, I had more of those moments where I was like, oh, I wish I could make this happen, and I can't, or I wish that could happen. So I was Googling, the different ways to do it. Premiere Pro, again, I was dabbling in that. That's an Adobe product. I came across Blackmagic, which is, they make Resolve, which is a great program, and Nolan can chat on that here in a minute. But I want to talk about the evolution from iMovie to Final Cut first. I found Final Cut as being kind of the next natural step up from iMovie, is what people were saying. That if you're familiar with iMovie, you're gonna love Final Cut. I was like, sweet. And at the time, Apple had a free 90-day trial during COVID. They had 3 months you could use it for free. I'm like, sweet, we're doing it. So I jumped on it and found that it was laid out very similar to iMovie, and you could do a lot more stuff, a lot more editing. It had full customizing of things, templates built, and it immediately improved our production value. The hardest thing is you have to learn a whole new system. So, I mean, you have to put in the time, and that's hours of time to YouTube things. Why isn't this working? How does this work? How to make that cleaner? What does that look like? It's trial and error, trying stuff out. So behind the scenes, you're going to spend a lot of time learning a new platform. But once you're on it, once you pick your platform that you like, so I picked Final Cut, ran with it. Now I'm able to do things much quicker than I was able to back then. For a long time, it was like, how am I ever going to edit all this stuff together and put it together? The more I just jumped into it and figured it out. So Final Cut I really liked. The other one I've been really curious about is DaVinci Resolve. And so that's the Blackmagic one. So Nolan, if you want to chat a little bit about that one.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I was in iMovie and getting stuck all the time, having to put 2 lines together and export it and then drag it back in and then do another level and continue to do that until I had all the different levels. So iMovie is just 2 layers. So you can have one video and your lyrics, you can have one video and your titles, you can have one video and another video where you go back and forth. So as I started to bring in videos from different places, wanting graphics, wanting lyrics for the songs, that is when I, after having to export and import several times over to get kind of what I wanted, that's when I found DaVinci. Our media guy at Calvary, he was already using DaVinci and recommended it, and I went into it. It's a free program. The only thing you need to know is that it takes a pretty decent computer, whether it's Windows or Mac. It takes some higher requirements to run well. But I was able to do that. It's free. And as far as I'm concerned, it covers 98% of what I would ever dream of doing at this point in my life, which should cover most things. Different title packs, you can change the colors, and the sound, you can do some edits to the sound in there, as many videos and lyrics as you need. And it's really, I've really enjoyed it quite a bit. And it's been a fun process learning. Video editing was never something that I did prior to COVID. And it's really been a creative output for me that I never even knew that I enjoyed doing. And so I've really, really had fun with it. Yeah, we are in COVID, obviously. What are you doing for weddings and funerals and video? That is a great question. And for us, it has been pretty minimal. Anything we've done has been very, we've also had baptisms. Baptisms is something that we've been doing as well. But it's following the state laws, the state guidelines for how many people you can have in the same place. We do all the masking and distancing and temperature checking and everything that that is required to be safe and to keep people safe. So that is but it's been pretty minimal as far as funerals and weddings and baptisms. Actually, baptisms, we've had a lot of baptisms. Yay, COVID. Giving families some time. So, but it's been pretty minimal. John, rather than diving into a whole class on Da Vinci, I ran out of things that I could say without getting into a huge rabbit hole of things. And
Yeah.
that's
You're cutting out there, Nolan.
should have mentioned this. Creating, we are working on creating a video series for video editing. So that is something that is coming soon.
Yeah. My phone died. Sorry, I had to jump off to grab my charger because I was like, I don't know how to check, keep an eye on these comments and questions coming in. Yeah, I've loved Final Cut. It's been a big change and adjustment, but at the end of the day, pick your thing. If you have, on YouTube, somebody that you follow that uses Final Cut, just use it. Pick your platform and run with it. If you have somebody that you know and trust that uses DaVinci Resolve, pick it, run with it. So you know that Nolan loves Resolve. I love Final Cut. I've thought about moving to Resolve just to streamline even what Nolan and I do, if we're both on the same platform. But I've invested so much time and energy into Final Cut. So I have all these presets built and just things that have made my workflow very quick week to week, that I don't want to change it now. But if there's kind of a season of downtime or whatever kind of post-COVID looks like, if there's a natural time that I feel the call to switch to Resolve, I will. But for now, it's just been diving into Final Cut and just running with it. And I think people get kind of caught up on, I don't know which one is better, and we have to, this one costs $300, this one's free, this one's this one's that. Just bite the bullet, pick one of them and run with it. You can't go wrong in any of them. And I would start by going to YouTube and just typing in, best way to start with Final Cut, best way to start with Resolve.
Yeah, I think
you talk about what do we offer up?
Not too much. Before we do that, I would just say the biggest thing is video editing does take a lot of processing power. So no matter what program you go with, or just Google DaVinci Resolve requirements and make sure that you have a computer or purchase a computer that can handle that.
Yeah,
they're all a little bit different, but the more you can do, the more processing it takes.
Right. Yeah, I think, and the thing about video editing, this isn't just a COVID thing. This isn't just a phase. It's kind of like we're talking about live streaming in the church, or, online church for that matter. It's not going anywhere. One way or another, you're going to be using these technologies for years to come until the world completely changes and shifts and evolves. But for the foreseeable future, video isn't going anywhere. Your church needs to be pumping out content, whether it's worship online, whether it's storytelling, capturing the stories of how lives are changing, the sermon, full sermon, cutting down the sermon to a 3 to 5 minute shareable chunk, getting intentional about those things. It all takes video editing. So it's a skill set that's not going to go anywhere, and you getting better at that as a church leader adds a ton of value to what your church is able to do.
If you are one of the churches that is learning through our question that came in, that's watching the video tips that we provide for free, and there's a lot of work that goes between capturing those videos and your content and then doing the video editing or the music and the lyrics and the presentation to put online. That is something that we offer to help you with. There is a link on our page, www.redriverworship.com/video tips, and then you can click on the link that says help with video editing. I don't remember the specific.
Yep.
And that's something where you can send us the videos through Dropbox, and we put it all together for you and then get it online, help you get it online in a really nice, attractive way so that you can reach more and more people. The thing that we've been hearing from many pastors is I am spending all of my time trying to figure out how to use iMovie or DaVinci Resolve or whatever, instead of being for the hurting and for the lost and connecting with people and writing my sermon. And that's not necessarily what you were called to do as a minister. And so that's why we are here to help. We can put it together in a nice little video for you. We can help work with you to find the right music, to help design a worship that works well on the online, as it's a little bit different for an hour versus being in person for an hour. So how to do that well, we are here to help. You can click that link. You can reach out to us on email or Facebook, but we are happy to help so that you can get back to what you were called to do, to connect, to love on people.
Yes. Yeah, that's really good. And then the second part of that question, so we don't have to spend as much time on it, was, and how to get them online. so huge question, which is great. You talked about the editing piece, getting it online. So say you're already creating content, you already have a structure in place for how you're putting together content, how to get it online. We use Facebook and YouTube for all of our video content. And that's kind of our longer form content we use there. We do videos, shorter videos on Instagram, shorter videos on Facebook as well. But for our worship specific stuff, Facebook and YouTube, and we stream there for a couple different reasons. We had the questions early on. Do we use church online platform? Do we use some of these other streaming specific platforms, and then get our people to leave Facebook where they're already hanging out at and go to this link to watch worship on Sunday? Okay, that's one model. It's a stable model. It works very well. Some of those platforms are awesome for engagement, questions, comment sections. But the key is that you have to get your mass community to get onto this other link. Or do you stream it right to them where they're already scrolling, where they can just hit share? It shares it to their friends' timeline, the video instantly. They don't have to click a link, wonder if it's legit, get into something. Think about it when somebody's coming through the door for the first time, like when we're in person. Like, you want there to be the least amount of barriers possible. You want them to feel welcome as quickly as possible, and to make that so simple. So we went right to Facebook for those reasons. And then the same thing to YouTube. YouTube is a huge growing platform. It's not going anywhere. It's very stable. So we stream at the same time to Facebook and to YouTube, same content. And we've had the feedback that people love watching on their phones because it's right there for Facebook. And then we've had the feedback that people love pulling up Roku, whatever they stream on their TV with, going to the YouTube channel, subscribing to Good Shepherd, whatever your church is, and then they can watch it on their TV like they would watch any other TV show. So that's kind of why we picked those two. Vimeo is another great one. It's got a lot of other features that YouTube doesn't have, so I don't ever want to discount them. Just from what I've seen though, people are less likely to kind of pull up Vimeo on their channel, on their TV. People are less likely to just be hanging out and might come across your video on YouTube or on Vimeo. Whereas if you're on YouTube, sometimes you're just rolling through videos and you're watching different worship videos, you're watching different, I'm talking to our people right now, like that's what we do on YouTube. But for hopefully someone to scroll across your sermon, or someone to scroll across a music video that you put out, or a full version or full form worship video, we want that to hopefully accidentally happen by them being on YouTube. So
yeah, it's a great way to reach outsiders, and it's an easy way to send your people to as well. I always find this interesting, and I just don't even think about it, but YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. Yes. The number one is Google. The second is YouTube. How do I fix my marriage? Who is Jesus? I'm struggling with depression. What do I do? So the second in the world is YouTube. And don't you want to be the church that brings life into these situations, these struggles, these dark parts of people's lives, and breathe life, breathe the Holy Spirit, breathe Jesus into those, because they found you in a search in YouTube.
Right.
And because owned by Google. Is that right, John?
That's right.
More into those details than I am.
Yep.
So when you search something on Google, which is the #1, a lot of those options will be at the top of your Google in YouTube. And
Yep.
so that's why it's so important to be in YouTube. And then, like John was saying, where are the people at? If you're anything like me, it's late at night and you can't sleep. So what do? You're scrolling mindlessly through Facebook, which is a whole different issue on how we can be productive in life. But you know, you can be scrolling and enable in your life, or you can be going through and your friend who you know often puts out positive content just shared their church service, which is yours, and that's how you connect to it, and that's how you connect to outsiders. And the more you can encourage your congregation, your insiders, to hit share, to like, to comment in those live streams, the more it's going to spread across the nation, across the globe. And you can follow those things, but we literally have people watching, not just from coast to coast, but across the world since the pandemic happened, which did not happen when we were live streaming prior to the pandemic. Like, it's just a new world. And like I said at the beginning of this, we just have no idea how big this thing is going to get. So find ways to do that well. You use Restream, John?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, so that's another good thing. We moved to Restream because we were able to, you can post and set it to premiere to Facebook and to YouTube individually. So that's what we had done for a while. Then I came across Restream.io. And it's a fantastic platform, very stable, that I'm able to upload the video there and then set it to where I want it to stream to live. So every Sunday, it looks like Good Shepherd is streaming live, and we're not fooling anyone. It's just the fact that live stream videos have better engagement numbers on Facebook than a premiered video does, is the reason we did it. You know, we had some people going, is this live? Like, can we come in person? And we're like, no, it's pre-recorded, but we stream it live. And just because there's different features that come along with it and things. So we do Facebook Live that way, and we do YouTube. So it streams it simultaneously to both YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So that's a great platform.
So then, instead of with upload of a 35 to hour long video taking an hour or hours or whatever it is for your speeds, to do it separate into YouTube and then go back and separately do it into Facebook, and then having those issues happen, which can happen, you can just go to Restream, put it up one time, and then it will distribute it for you wherever you want it to go, which is super slick.
Right.
We've been really enjoying Restream as well.
Right. Yeah, that's great. One other thing I want to touch on, I think we can probably end with this, just because Nolan keeps freezing, so it made me think about it, is one of the things that we find very quickly as we're consulting with churches. So we'll do things just like this, where we have groups from different churches jump on a Zoom, and we do a very site-specific consultation. One of the first things we usually get is one of the guys says, we always have lag, it always freezes, we always have issues, like what's wrong with Switcher Studio, or what's wrong with this platform that we're using, or this recording thing we're using, what's wrong with this? And I say, well, let's first check your internet speed. So we have people go to speedtest.net, and speedtest.net allows you to hit go. And I always have people run 3 different tests back to back. I mean, give it 20, 30 seconds in between, and then take your average. Sometimes when you run your speeds, you'll get this number, and then you'll get this number, and then you get this number. So then, okay, what's the average of those numbers? And you'll get a pretty good snapshot of what speeds you're getting. And you need to take those numbers very seriously, because if your numbers are really low, you're going to get a terrible stream quality and very slow uploading. So if you're spending time and you're waiting hours for this thing to upload, it's because your internet speed is not that high. So again, looking at your budget, looking at your bills as a whole, and how you can bump up to the next speed level, I highly recommend, because you're going to want to have quality internet speed and connectivity to be able to accomplish any of the things that we've been talking about.
Right on.
So, All right, well, I think we can close out with that. We're going to throw up our contact info really quick just for you to have. We've got a lot of things coming up that we're planning for. One of the things we didn't really talk about today is the digital hymn library, and that's a solution that we offer up, and that's where Nolan and I make music videos, and they're lyric videos that you can use for your worship online or in person. Early on, one of the biggest requests we got was, hey, we can't find musicians. How are you guys doing this? And we're like, wait a minute, what if we recorded things for you that you had access to that you can use? And we kind of go from there. So we created the digital hymn library. So check that out on our website, redriverworship.com/downloads. Let us know if you have any questions there, see some samples of what they can look like, and let us know how we can help you. Otherwise, we're available for any consulting and training along the way. And we're just here for you. We're in crazy times, and we've learned the hard way on a lot of things. We still are learning the hard way on a lot of things. And we want to help you so you don't have to spend a lot of time researching. We can get you quicker solutions and get you moving forward faster. So thanks for jumping on with us today, and God bless you. We'll talk to you soon.